Hey there, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm here to talk about another movie, of course. Today, I don't think this is going to be nearly as long as the others because there's not a lot to talk about, to be honest. Today I'm reviewing Interview with a Hitman from 2012, directed by Perry Bandall, director of The Last Boy, another Luke Goss film. This film stars Luke Goss, Caroline Tillett, and Stephen Marcus. Now, this film is about a hitman who rises up the ranks, whatever, from Romania, and he tries to get out of the business so that he can live a normal life. It's a story you've seen done a million times, but the framing device is actually what makes it pretty interesting. Now, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I'm going to explain why. Starting off the acting, Luke Goss does a very good job, like, very great. He plays this character cold, calculating, just everything you'd expect in an actual hitman, and it doesn't feel like they're trying to make him cool or anything. It feels like they're trying to it feels like he is just trying to play the character, not trying to make him good, not trying to make him, like, not trying to excuse his actions at all. You're kind of supposed to hate this character, I think. But I was still taken aback. Luke Goss has proven himself with this to be a pretty decent actor. I am curious about his other films. If anyone else knows more about Luke Goss and can recommend me some of his more actiony roles, I'd be curious about that, and maybe some drama roles. I do know he was in Blade 2, I think, as one of the main villains, but yeah. Caroline Tillett, she doesn't get much to do as Bethesda, this girl that he befriends, and, well, they start a life together, or try to. But she was alright. She had a couple scenes that were okay. Stephen Marcus was fine too. He's also not in the movie much. It's mainly Luke Goss's show. It's a character-driven drama, and that's part of my issue with it. Not that it's a character-driven drama, but it was marketed as an action thriller. Now, yes, there is action. There's gun violence, whatever, but it's very. The action is one of the worst parts of the film. It's not very impactful. It's very bloodless. I don't really get why this movie's R other than for violence, because there's no nudity. There's like no violence. There might be like one scene where you see a character get shot, but that's about it. You could probably pass this off for PG-13 if you censored out the language, but like, yeah, the action is not why you're here. I do wish this movie was marketed as a drama. I would have still watched it because I think it's an interesting idea. Somebody being interviewed about a guy being interviewed about his time being a hitman. I think that's a very interesting idea. They did it well, and there were a couple twists that I thought were interesting. There is one twist that actually lost me. Like, I'm not going to spoil anything. I try not to spoil anything with these reviews unless I'm doing like a major rant on a movie, but then I also list when the spoiler is, or I try to, or I'll at least warn for people who don't want to hear the spoiler. But yeah, there is a spoiler near the end that I thought was really stupid and didn't make much sense. It wasn't set up like in the slightest. And that does take the film down a bit. The reason it's a 7 out of 10 and not like an 8 or 9. I say it's decent because, yes, Luke Goss's acting helps it a lot. If he wasn't nearly as good, I'd probably have it as a 6 or a high 5. Because 5 usually means I like the idea, but I don't think the film did what it was trying to do well enough. The film's story even though I was never bored watching the movie, it does feel a bit artificially stretched out. The first about 50 minutes, when I first checked how much time I was into the movie, it was 50 minutes in, and I was like, wait, the movie's almost over? Because I felt like almost nothing had happened. Now, even though it's gone through multiple years of his life, up into that point, I feel like we get Caroline Tillette's character Bethesda doesn't come into the story until like 30 minutes from the end. So I feel like the love story was a bit rushed there. I mean, it's not a spoiler that they fall in love. He saves her from some goons, and by happenstance, they get together. Like, it's not a spoiler that a woman in a movie is a love interest, and it's not sexist either. But, like, I don't wish the movie was longer. I wish they had packed a bit more into that 50 minutes. Because after that, the film tries to be more action-y, and the action's just not that great. It's either pretty quick-cutty, or it's very... I think they used squibs, but it's really hard to tell because most of the gun sounds are very, like, pew! Or it's, like, not at all what a silencer sounds like. I know there are multiple movies that do the whole pew! Like the Goldeneye sound effect. Which, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. It's just you have to make it impactful. If you're gonna, like, use that sound effect. But here it's just like a and it sounds like somebody was, like, spitting in the microphone. So many scenes that should have had more of an impact, such as, like, characters being killed off, doesn't really... Like, there's a scene where an important character gets killed off, and I just kind of felt nothing. And there are many times where the film both wants to have its cake and eat it too, with the action scenes, but then, like, after there's, like, an action scene where people, like, break in and try to kill the main character. He breaks one of their necks by, like, just catching his head, and then he's, like, dead. And I'm like, what? What happened? I was just very, like, excuse me? You want to maybe do that take again? Now, this is a first-time director, Perry Bandall. I don't know what he's done. I can check here. Director, writer, and producer. Yeah, that's about it. He has 2 Masters of Arts degrees, and he's a graduate of London's Met Film School. Yeah, this... It doesn't really look like a... The film looks okay, I guess. It does look cheap, though, in many respects. There are some cool lighting choices or shot choices. Like, there's a shot where Victor, the main character, as a kid... There's, like, smoke going in front of him because the guy across from him that he's working with in this, like, agency is, like, smoking a cigarette, and then he blows smoke that way, and then you see the smoke go by, and then it transitions to older Victor, like, current time Victor. And I was like, okay, that was a really fucking cool shot. This film needed more of that, because that looked like a shot that could be in, like, a $30-40 million movie. And this movie, there is no budget listed online. I wasn't expecting there to be. It's kind of hard to find the budgets of independent films like this, or, like, lower budget action films. But if I were to guess, I'd say about $3 million. It just kind of has the look of that. Sorry about that. It just kind of looks cheap. There's the whole... It does have a kind of shot on video look. Or not video, but shot on, like, cheap digital camcorder look at times. The picture quality is pretty fuzzy in many parts. And there are a lot of people online that say that this is, like, Luke Goss's only good movie. I've not seen a Luke Goss film yet, other than this. I've seen clips of him acting, which I was like, okay, he seems decent enough. And only thing I really knew about him was he was in a boy band with his brother, I think. And I've heard some of his music, and it's like not bad 90s music or whatever. But like, he clearly knows how to act. He clearly knows how to fight. This film just doesn't showcase any of that. I feel like the film is more leaning on the drama, definitely as a source of its storytelling, as a source of the entertainment of watching the film. You're supposed to be going through this character's backstory and finding out why he wants to do this interview and all this. And yeah, I kind of called what happened. I'm not going to say what happened, but it worked. But yeah, the film does feel artificially stretched out in places. There are times where scenes go on a tiny bit too long. This film isn't that long. It's 96 minutes. If I were to change anything with the pacing, I would definitely... Well, if I were to change anything with the movie, if I'm being honest, I'd take out some of the action scenes. Because, like, I think it's better to have no action scenes than you know, ones that are, like, just kind of there. It kind of felt like placeholder. It kind of felt like placeholder action scenes where they didn't add in the CG blood, you know? Like, there were squibs. I know that some companies, like, or some film studios, they'll be like, okay, we'll do squibs but with no blood, and then we'll add the blood in. And that does work better. I do wish they just use squibs with the blood in them. It's not that much more expensive to add the blood, but if you're going to do CG blood, I do recommend you do that, because that does help a lot more with blending. But it does feel like placeholder action. Like, a lot of the action scenes will be like the first kill that you see, it's like Lucas points a gun at the camera. You hear the person say, like, "What now?" or something like that, and then he shoots him, and it's just like a flash of white light, and then it cuts to the next shot. And it's like, it feels like they're trying to cover up for the budget. If you don't have the budget for it, just don't shoot it. That's how I feel. If the film wanted to just be a drama and not try to trick the audience into thinking it's an action film, I would have been better with it just having the kills be off screen, because that makes it a lot easier to, like, just put a body down on the ground with blood on its head, or like a bullet wound. That's so much easier and so much cheaper. You don't have to spend the budget doing elaborate action scenes if you're going for a drama. I do love action movies. Action movies are my favorite genre. Action is my favorite genre. Action and thrillers. This film is neither. It is listed as an action thriller, but yeah, what I would call it is a character study of this hitman, like, slowly gaining a conscience. And like I've said, Lucas is a big reason why I'm all right with this movie. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. It is one of those that, like, after you've seen it, there's not really much else to talk about. But yeah, I do feel like there are other films of his that I'll enjoy more. I'll try to get to some of them maybe soon. I have some days off of work, so maybe I'll just knock quite a few out, because quite a few of them are on Tubi. So I guess I'll just pick random ones. But yeah. Also, other things I'd change about the film, I would maybe slow down the pacing, actually. The pacing kind of did take away from the powerfulness of certain scenes. I'd give certain characters more screen time, so the betrayals and these, like, you know, things that happen within the story to these characters had more meaning. Especially his parents. His parents don't have enough screen time or enough of characters for me to, like, really care about their, like, what happens to the parents. And like, there's like even a part where I'm like, did that character just disappear from the movie? That happened quite a bit in this. So I was very like, like, meh. But yeah. that's about all I could say. The film is decent enough. Luke Goss is a big reason. Luke Goss is the main reason to see the film. But yeah, I just hope that I see some better films than this, because I don't hate Luke Goss. I think he is an interesting guy. The whole like knowing martial arts, being a boy band member, and an action actor. I think that's really cool. I'm not watching the one he did with Seagal yet, though. I don't know if I could suffer through that. But yeah, that's about it for me. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. And see you later.